All right, everybody, welcome to Tuning In with Thom. I'm Thom Jennings. I'm here with an incredible guest this week. I'm very happy to welcome from, it looks like you're down in sunny Florida, Carmine.
Yep, I
Carmine
am. I
Appice.
am. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know before we begin, I know that people will be looking at this throughout the country, but I know you spent a lot of time in the Buffalo, Rochester, New York area, which is my neck of the woods. You and your brother visit up here a lot, and
Yeah,
I
well, we
know.
have a singer from our Drum Wars show, lives in Buffalo, Jim Crean. So he lives in Buffalo. As a matter of fact, we have a gig at the end of July in Niagara Falls, with Drum Wars up there.
Yeah, I'd say you come up here a lot. I think you worked a little with Phil Nero, who just passed away recently, who was a great guy.
That was terrible.
Yeah,
Can't
very
believe he
young.
actually, I can't believe he died so young. Wow.
Yeah, and a nice guy too. I mean,
Beautiful guy.
As people get older, we lose friends and stuff. But man, it's tough to see, like you said, a guy that's not just a talented guy, but just a nice guy.
Nice guy, a young guy. And our manager for Cactus lives in Rochester. So, we go and see him when we go to Buffalo, it's always been a good area. Buffalo was a great area for Cactus. We used to play a place called Gilligan's back in the day. It held 2,000 people, and we used to pack it like 2 nights in a row. It was amazing gigs.
And you now you grew up in Brooklyn, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad grew up in Brooklyn. He grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, so he was born in 1931, but
that's not a good area.
not anymore. But what was it about Brooklyn in terms of how did that impact you musically?
I think you learn, unlike musically, you learn to survive. You learn to not screw around. You learn to get things done. Because like I grew up in a family. We had a 1-bedroom. We had 6 people in there. And all of us kids, my brother Vinny, my older brother, my sister, we all did great. We all have good lives, financially good lives. And, I think you get that from Brooklyn. You learn how to survive. And our parents had that Brooklyn mentality of surviving and stuff, So let's move that a little bit. So I think that's part of it is the way you grew up in Brooklyn, that you get that, So now I know a lot of people from Brooklyn, they all have that.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question, because I have a lot of relatives down there. I grew up in Rochester, New York, where Bruce Pilato was from. You mentioned the manager of Cactus and everything. He's a legend up here. But man, my relatives and my dad and the people from Brooklyn, they just have kind of a let's get it done and let's not waste any time
let's not
doing
waste any time. Let's not screw around. I don't know. Bruce Pilato's a legend up there. I'm gonna bust his balls New York style on that one.
He is. He's every time there's a Grammy Award show, he's the one that's on the local television, and certainly I admire him as a music writer. So he's just an all. He's worked with just about everybody who's anybody, including the Carl Palmer, a lot of those guys. So Asia,
I gave him Pat Travis to manage Cactus, and he did Vanilla Fudge for a while. So he has been around. We had this thing called the Platinum Rock All Stars. I had Phil Narrow, I had Spencer. I had Phil Narrow, Rudy Sazzo, me, Jeff Downs, Buck, not Buckethead, the other guy.
Bumblefoot.
Bumblefoot, man. God, I just went blank on that. That's my age, Yeah, and that was a great band. We went out on the road, and Phil sang everything, and then we played a little bit of everybody's history, and it was really great. We did some corporate gigs. So much fun playing Guns N' Roses, playing Quiet Riot, playing, Asia. We even did Video Kill the Radio Star, that Jeff Downs was in that.
Yeah, Downs is an underrated keyboard player. I'm a huge fan. I know he was with the Buggles, but even that first Asia album, he's on Drama. So it's a really good rock album,
Oh, yeah.
So the other thing about, I mentioned to you before we started recording that I was in Savannah this week and I was hanging out with my brother-in-law, and we both are vinyl record collectors, and we whipped out that first Vanilla Fudge record and just played it from beginning to end. My son was there and I was listening to this thing and I go, man, every time I go back to it, I'm always so impressed with it. And I wonder, do you ever just go back to the old stuff and just sit there and just maybe listen to it, just enjoy it instead of maybe prepping for a gig?
I have done that. I went back looking at old Vanilla Fudge albums, because somewhere in those albums was where John Bonham told me he got that triplet thing from me on the bass drum. And he pointed out the song and the album, and I can't remember what album it was. He pointed it out to me in 1968, and when I looked at it back then, I saw it, but I just went back to listen to the Fudge albums for that, and I couldn't find it, But somebody sent me the Beck Bogan Appice Live in Japan link on YouTube the other day, and I listened to it, and I said, wow, this band was on fire. And there was no overdubs. It was straight, whatever you heard on stage, that's what went on that album. Tim screwing around, telling the audience to fuck off, shit like that, but it was unbelievable, the playing and the energy. And, I was singing and playing drums, it's like, whoa, working the audience from the drums, it just, I was like, 26 years old. I was a monster.
Yeah, you and Tim had a certain chemistry. I mean, people always talk about the importance of a rhythm section and really the bass player getting along with the drummer. I mean, there was some real magic there between the two of you. Did it extend to your friendship?
Yeah. Well, it was the playing that really brought us together. And then once we started getting really tight as a rhythm section, it brought us together more as people, where we could actually talk to each other and go, hey, Tim, stop playing so much. Can you lay back a little bit? And that way, when you go out, people realize how far out you went when you come back, and they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or he'll tell me something. Can you, in my bass solo, can you not do those rolls that you do? And, just play more, behind me? I said, sure, But, there's some musicians, you tell people that and they get an attitude, But we were like brothers, to the end. I got him on that Vanilla Fudge latest song, Stop in the Name of Love. Did you hear that?
It was that a recent release before he passed away?
Last year.
Yeah.
And we're the only band from 1967 to release a new song with all the original members, and I got Tim on it. Like, it was a year before he passed away, but it was about a month and a half before COVID. So it was going to be a whole album called Supreme Fudge, and we did Stop in the Name of Love. And you should listen to it. It's really, you should include it on this interview. It's really good.
Yeah,
we played it live. We went out on the road, did 9 shows. We did 6 or 8, 7 of them with Robbie Krieger. And every time we played that song, we got the same kind of reaction we did when we did Hanging On for the first time for an audience. They really loved it, But unfortunately, the way the business is today, nobody hears anything.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't happen to be on your email when the press release comes out that it came out and it gets buried, you miss it, And, I myself don't sit around and go to YouTube and go, what's new? I got better things to do. I used to hear new music on the radio driving in the car. Now you don't hear that anymore,
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because in terms of recorded output, you are not slowing down at all. It seems like every time I get some kind of a tribute album, I know a recent one I picked up was the Pink Floyd "Wish You Were Here" record. I'm pretty sure you were on that.
Played on that.
And of course, you just did the full instrumental album with Fernando Perdomo, and
we're almost done with the second one.
Oh, I didn't realize. Is that going to be all instrumental as well?
Yeah, it's really good stuff. He's such a talent, that guy. And I met him like off the wall. I moved to Florida, I put a studio in the house, and I was just learning to operate it. And that "Wish You Were Here" album song was one of the first things I did here in my own studio, where I engineered it and played it and engineered. So I got a call from Tom Dowd, the great producer's family. His daughter and his wife said, hey, there's a guy who wants you to play in his record. And Tom was going to produce him before he passed away. He's really talented. He'd like to call you and talk to you about it. Will you take his call? I said, sure. So I took his call, and just from talking to him, I knew he knew what the hell he was doing. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I'll do some stuff with this kid and see what happens, because I need to learn how to work my studio, you know? So I had stuff that I had written on my iPad, and I played guitar, bass, and drums, and sing, keyboard, you know, just I majored in music in high school. And from different, you know, things, I played these instruments enough to write songs and do arrangements, you know, not enough to go out on stage and play, but to write songs. So I wrote a few songs. I said, let me send you something. Let me see how it goes. So I sent him something. He sent it back to me with his take on it. And I put my drums on it, and it sounded amazing. I said, let me send you another one. So I sent him another one. Same thing. It sounded amazing. So he said, why don't I send you something I'm doing? I said, good. So he sent me something he was doing. And it was kind of like heavy duty Latin rock. It was the one called, have you heard that record?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's the one called Little Havana, right? So after I played it, I went and did a press roll. Then I went into this fast parchment foam kind of thing. And I said, see what you can put to that. So he wrote another section to my drums. I said, wow, that's great. So we called it Little Havana and Big Havana. And then I said, you know, I got some drum tracks that I have. Why don't I send you one, see if you like it? Maybe you could write something to it. So I sent him that. And he wrote back another song called Pure Ecstasy, which is funky as hell, you know, because that track, the drum track, was funky. I ended up giving him 5 drum tracks that I had done in the studio, and he wrote stuff to that, and then he'd send it back to me, and I would tell him, no, I don't like that. Why don't you do this here? And you rearrange it and redo the melodies, and we did everything by the internet, and we came up with 18 songs. And then I said, you know, we should get this stuff out. This is good stuff, you know. So I called Cleopatra, my friend owns it, and he said, yeah, I'll put it out. So he gave us a little bit of an advance, a little video advance, and we picked 12 of the 18 songs. So that gave us 6 songs that we had in the can. So now we've been writing more songs. So now we have another maybe 12 songs. So he gave me one a couple of days ago. That's awesome, you know. So now I'll do my take on it, and I'll tell him to do this or do that, to rearrange it and use my experience. And then we'll come up with these great melodies and killer instrumental albums that have hooks. And it's not all brrr, you know. And he says it's real easy to write songs to my drum tracks because they're very dynamic and they're very melodic. He can feel where there's a chord change coming, or like a pre-chorus or a chorus. So he's awesome, you know. And I wrote a few Christian songs that I had him play on. He made them sound great, you know. So I've been doing a lot of work in that studio. I just finished my last track of a new King Cobra record that we're working on in there. Now we got me and Johnny Rod, the original bass player. Paul Shortino's done the last 2 King Cobra records. And we got Carlos Cavazzo from Quiet Riot and Rowan Robinson from Dio. And that's the hardest part, because those guys never played together and they keep overplaying. So we're like me and Paul are trying to calm them down. So I got Paul producing. I'm the executive producer, because by producing, he gets all the tracks to him and he arranges them. I don't have that much experience as an engineer to do that. You know, I can get stems and put drums on them, send them back, or I can put vocals on it, background vocals or vocals, and send it back to wherever they're going. But to actually send guitar tracks and record bass tracks, and he did Johnny Rod at his house, at his studio. So, you know, and, you know, it's not a lot of money in it anymore for us, you know. By the time me and Paul are done with this album, we probably got made 3 cents an hour.
Wow.
You know, because there's so much work doing that. And that's why Mick and Dave of the original King Cobra didn't want to do it. They said, nobody buys it, nobody hears it, and you don't get paid any money. so why bother? I said, well, I started King Cobra. I just want to keep the legacy going. I got a studio. I want to keep creating in the studio and just doing what I do. So make a few bucks, and then maybe you get to go out and do some gigs. It's not going to go gold. Nobody goes gold anymore. I don't even think all the big records go gold because nobody sells 500,000 records anymore.
Yeah, but it's interesting
terrible.
because I mean but the good thing is that I mean it really is, it takes a different skill set to record in a studio apart from somebody. I think Fernando, being a little bit younger, he's one of those guys that's just so adept at it. It feels, I mean, that record doesn't feel like a record that was recorded in different parts of the country. And there are some, when you listen to it and you can tell that they weren't in the same studio, you just don't have the dynamic. But there's such a chemistry between the two of you. That's amazing.
Without a doubt. And he's a nice kid. He's 42 years old. I mean, come on, he could be my son. I just got a new singer for Cactus. He's 36 years old. I mean, I'm over twice his age, but he's amazing. And he's got that fire to learn all the songs, and he's going to play rhythm guitar, harmonica, and sing. So we're back to a 4-piece band again, which is awesome.
Yeah, and Cactus has just an amazing legacy as well. I mean, your first gig, if I remember correctly, was opening for, what was it, Hendrix and the Grateful Dead?
Grateful Dead, yeah. But you got to understand something about that gig. Hendrix and the Grateful Dead and Steve Miller Band were the bands we opened for, but they weren't what they are now. Hendrix was actually on his way down. Hendrix peaked in like 68, 69, because we played tours with him in 68 when we had big crowds. His crowds were going down and his record sales were going down. And then he died. When he died, he had no money in his estate. Now there's $100 million in his estate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, and Grateful Dead were just another band. They weren't like what they are now, which I don't get anyway, but I never understood Grateful Dead getting to the heights they got to. And Steve Miller, I like Steve Miller, a lot of stuff he did. But he was the Steve Miller Blues Band back then. He didn't have those big hit singles. And nobody had hit singles except maybe Hendrix. That Truckin' and all that wasn't a hit single yet. They were a San Francisco hippie band.
And you had, but I mean, in terms of
so
bands,
were we. We were a New York hippie drug band. They all did cocaine and acid and all that. It was like a drug band. And we didn't dress up on stage. We were hippies, and that was the first gig. And I gotta say, the energy level is unbelievable.
That one's has that one been released, or is it being released?
It's been released by Cleopatra. But that's what I'm saying. Nobody knows it's released.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, Cleopatra Records, I mean, I know it's a little bit off topic, but man, I mean, they just seem to put out some amazing stuff. I mean, between the colored vinyl and
records, this has colored vinyl. We did a Vanilla Fudge release, Spirit of 67. Great record. Great arrangements. Nobody hears it, Sold
well, I will say,
units,
I will say that I did. My brother-in-law, who I listened to the first record with, we also listened to Spirit of 67 because he took out that colored vinyl, and it's just a beautiful record. And I think if there is someone listening, they got to pick that one up.
A great record. I listened to me and my brother's record, Sinister. We did it like, everyone over the internet. The only time somebody was in the same studio is when I went to my brother's house and we played one song together where he played the verse and the chorus and I played the next verse and the chorus. And we alternated like that in his studio. I punched in on the next verse and you could almost can't tell who's playing it because we play similar. There's certain fills that I do that that's me, and certain fills he does, it's him. But that record sounds great. It was mixed by the same guy that mixed Spirit of 67. Great sounding record, And another guy mixed Energy Overload record, but Peace Perdomo record. That was the guy from Florida. He got a good sound too. Now I'm trying to get King Cobra to be mixed by Pat Regan, who mixed all my Guitar Zeus stuff. And I got the box set out of that now. Have you heard some of that stuff?
That I've not heard. I'll have to definitely check it out.
Oh my God. I consider that project, there's 39 tracks on the box set. I consider that some of the best stuff I ever recorded. Along with, me and Tony Franklin's another one, like me and Tim from Blue Murder. I love Tony. Tony is like an amazing bass player. And this guy, Kelly Keeling, that was in Blue Murder. So that album sounds like Blue Murder meets Soundgarden meets the Beatles. Great songs. Great songs, original songs. And every guitar player you could name, except for Clapton, Beck, and Page. Brian May, Slash, Yngwie Malmsteen, Zakk Wylde, Ted Nugent, Neil Schon, Steve Moss, Ty Tabor, Elliot Easton, Leslie West, Jennifer Batten.
Wow.
The list goes on and on. Paul Gilbert. I can't even remember how many people are on it, I even got Bruce Kulick from Kiss and Tommy, the new guy from Kiss, and Derek Sherinian playing keyboard like a guitar. Amazing songs. I got a video called Nobody Knows with Brian May in it with me. You should listen to that stuff. You'd be blown away. I just sent a copy of it to Ian Pace from Deep Purple. I just saw it, Ian. And he said, man, what a body of work this is. How long did it take you to do that? And it was over a 3-year period, 3.5-3-year period. And then I did Guitar Zeus Japan, which is guitars from Japan, and Guitar Zeus Korea.
Wow.
And it's amazing body of work and the greatest mixes, all done analog. And those tracks were recorded all together and sent out to do the guitar solos. So it's great songs. I didn't even need the guitar players on it, but I used the guitar players to bring attention to the album, And when I did it in 95, 97, I sold 200,000 of them around the world, everywhere but here. I couldn't get a deal here. So now I got Deco Records just released a box set of everything. Four colored LPs, 3 CDs, color picture me autographed, and a new booklet with interviews from the guitar players, and it's a great package. But again, nobody knows about it.
Yeah, well, those labels, Cleopatra, Deco, they put out a lot of great stuff, and they work hard to get it up. But like you said, it's such a difficult landscape to get anybody's attention, because hopefully, you said somebody watches this interview and hears about a lot of this stuff. And I've always been fascinated at how you've been able to corral some of these players. It seems like even between you and your brother, you either must have a really good reputation or you're great salespeople, because the list is incredible.
You understand? Most of the people, like I went to see the Rod Stewart band the other day, with Rod, and those guys were talking about how great I played on Rod's records. That whenever Rod brought a new person in, he said, "Listen to Carmine on the record. Listen to how he's playing the groove." So it goes back to Vanilla Fudge. Deep Purple listened to Fudge, Zeppelin listened to Fudge, Queen listened to the Fudge, Phil Collins in Genesis. Phil told me when I met him, he said, "Man, you can't imagine how much influence you and the Fudge had on me." So it comes from that we were the first to do that kind of stuff, the heavy rock, heavy grooves, the vocals, the arrangements. I even see our arrangement influences on Christian music with the dynamics that the Christian music uses. They always use quarter notes, 8 notes, and 16 notes, build-ups, and then they stop. It's like we always did,
Oh.
So it comes from that. So when, like Ian just said, what a body of work, I know Ian's from 1968 when they used to listen to it. They opened up for us, Deep Purple, So it's from that factor that we were one of those bands like Hendrix and Zeppelin and Cream and all that, we were one of them. And that legacy carries forward to other things that we did. Cactus, Van Halen loved Cactus. Eruption was a beginning of, I get this on the internet now, Carmine Appice claims, Eruption was Cactus. It was Cactus. And then I get the assholes comments, he's full of himself. I mean, I'm just telling the truth, And then
I don't think.
And Parchment Farm, Alex told me Parchment Farm was the template for Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
So that stuff goes down to the next generation. So when I called somebody like Slash, but I had a plan to get there. I mean, I had a plan. Okay. I said, first I ran into Brian May at a clinic. When Freddie died, Brian had nothing to do. He went out and did clinics. I did some clinics with him. So I said, Brian, I'm planning to do this Guitar Zeus record. And it all happened by accident. The name, coming up with the idea to do it, And I said, if I get a deal and I do it, can I call you to play on a track? He said, yeah. Then I ran into Ted Nugent, asked him the same thing. He said, yeah. And then I knew I loved the guys from Ty and Doug from King's X. I saw them too, and they were around the middle, early 90s, middle 90s. They were really cool and happening, and everybody respected them, all the musicians. So good. So when I got somebody to get me the deal out of Japan with a big budget, first ones I called were Brian, Ted, and the guys from King's X. And I figured if I can get them on, other guys will follow.
Right.
Because those guys are so respected. With me, with Tony Franklin, who was very respected. Next thing I know, Kelly, my singer on that, did a track or two with Yngwie. He told him about it. Yngwie called me and said, I'd like to play on it, but I hear you got Doug Pinnick on a track. I want to play on that track. So I got Doug Pinnick and Yngwie together. When I asked Mick Mars, he heard I had Edgar Winter on it. He wanted to be on the track with Edgar Winter. And I played with Edgar Winter, so right around that time. So that's how I got Edgar on it, And the way I got Ty and Doug on it, when I toured with Blue Murder, Billy Squire, Blue Murder, and King's X, I walk on the King's X bus, and what do you think they're playing? Cactus.
Wow.
Huge Cactus fans, right? So we became initially good friends. So this is how it happens,
Well, it's still important. You have to admit, though, you got to establish those relationships. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have burned so many bridges out there that nobody in the world will work with them. I mean, obviously, you have done that.
I learned that from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Survival, treat people good, do favors, I still owe Brian May and who else is it? Richie Sambora. He's on it. I still owe them favors to play on something, because they didn't charge me anything, different people.
No, that's so cool. I mean, you're right, though. I mean, it just that is kind of a Brooklyn mentality. I mean, it really does come full circle. I mean, that's the attitude. We all work together. There's no BS. Let's just let's get it done. This is the task, and you don't belabor
like
it.
Fernando, we didn't make any big money on doing that album. He just did a Todd Rundgren album that I don't know who's releasing it. It was a double album of one of Todd. I see you got Todd on your wall back there. He was just on our show, Hanging and Banging. We did a Meatloaf tribute.
Oh,
Todd
wow.
We had Todd, Carla DeVita, Bruce Kulick, Kazim Sultan. Everybody that played with him was great. But anyway, so he said, would you play on the album? I said, sure. So he played me one track. I said, I don't like that track, dude. Give me something else. So he gave me another track to play, and I played on it. It came out great. I didn't charge him for it, He didn't charge me to play on the Christian songs. And we both made a little money, probably $5 an hour.
Yeah.
To make that record, But we made a record. That's great. We made a great record, and Vintage Guitar got like 5 out of 5 stars. vintage, another big magazine like Classic Rock or something like that. I got 10 out of 10 stars, And I was talking to my buddy, Susie Quattro, she wanted me to play on something. And she said, send me some. So I sent her a couple of tracks from that album. And she said, is that who I think it is on guitar? I said, who do you think it is? Jeff Beck? I said, no, it's not Jeff Beck. My buddy, Fernando Perdomo, new kid. She goes, oh my God, he's amazing. I said, I know. So that's what I've been getting with that record. So we're doing another one.
Have you guys been in the same room or played a live show together yet?
No.
Wow.
The only thing we did together was a video.
That's incredible. I hope you guys get a chance to play live.
We're going to do something. We said, let's get a second album out. Yeah. And then maybe do, like LA, Miami. He lives in Miami too. He has family in Miami. Do like Miami, do LA, do New York, maybe Detroit or Chicago. And just do like 4 gigs when the next album comes out,
Yeah, do a webcast or something like that. You can probably reach a small group of people.
Just have some fun.
Good stuff. Well, listen, I've we're at about 40-minute mark, and I guess I'll wrap this up and just say, just what a pleasure chatting with you. I had a chance to meet you in person when you played the Trough with Vanilla Fudge and the Yardbirds, and I really appreciated. You spent a lot of time with anybody who wanted to shoot the breeze with you.
Slowly, I'm with Cactus. I'm becoming like Yardbirds. Drummer's the only original member.
Yeah.
Foghat, the drummer's the original member. Leonard Skinner is the drummer. I don't even know.
No, I think the only guy that was left in Skinner's the one guitarist, but he's been out too.
And you got
because Damon Johnson's up there was playing some shows for him. But yeah, it's interesting how many Foreigner doesn't have anybody. So.
I know that like the highest paid tribute acts now.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're doing well, and obviously the great news is we've got you'll be coming up to the Western New York area soon, and then you're having another album out with Fernando and all this other stuff, and I'll definitely check out that Guitar Zeus stuff. That sounds phenomenal.
I can't believe you never heard that.
Yeah, no, I said I mean there's obviously a lot of stuff that's out there, but I'm always happy to find new stuff. For sure.
Well, if you just go on YouTube, put in Carmine Appice, Guitar Zeus, you see them all come up.
Cool. Well,
that's what kills the business.
Yeah.
Like some labels say, well, we put it on YouTube. It's like radio. I said, it's not like radio.
Yeah.
Radio used to turn it on. You never knew what you're going to hear. Turn on YouTube, you program what you want to hear, and that's it. And for nothing, people get the whole album.
Yeah.
I listened to my whole Beck Bogan Appice Live in Japan album on YouTube, the whole thing the other day. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad I got in the business when I did, because I live in Florida because I did. And I got a nice house and everything going because I lived back then. And that's the days you made money in this business. Now, you don't really make money unless you're established. And one quick example, I went to see Rod, and Rod has a place near here, and I saw him a few months ago, and I told him I'm going to come see him when he comes here. So he came, and he released a new album. I saw he had, I don't know, 800,000, 900,000 views on the single. He didn't play one song from that album.
Wow.
You know why? Because nobody ever heard it.
Yeah.
Even Rod Stewart probably sells 20,000 records, if that.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy landscape.
And we just had TikTok play Do You Think I'm Sexy 268 million times. Right? And you can't sell a new record.
Yeah.
It's a freaking joke. Anyway,
do you get paid anything on that TikTok stuff, or is that just?
I don't have a clue.
Wow.
I called the union and they said they don't know.
Wow. That's
so
because that's.
I said it might come in on Sound Exchange, which is another way we get paid when you're like on a record and you're not the main artist that would that you wrote it, or you get the artist royalty. You get paid. So it's a new income stream, which is good, because guys like me from all the different bands, I get paid for everything.
Right.
I mean, it's not a fortune, but it's it's okay. But they don't know. They said maybe you'll get it on TikTok. So I'm going to see what I get. It comes in at the end of April.
Yeah, it'd be crazy to think you put on all this work doing these albums with everything like that, and then the biggest check comes from somebody just throwing up something on TikTok that you wrote with Rod Stewart 35 years ago.
Unbelievable. I mean, they were doing this stupid dance, and Rod and his family were doing it too on TikTok. I mean, I can't even get into TikTok.
Yeah,
I tried to get into it. I turned it on. All you saw is TNA wiggling.
Yeah. Well, you and I definitely have that in common. I'm a high school teacher as my regular day job, and the kids just love it, and they do these dances, and I just shake my head. I just don't get it.
No, I don't get it either.
But
what is this here for? What do you do this
I do a weekly column for the Niagara Gazette. I've done that for about 15 years. So this is just kind of
for a magazine?
Niagara Gazette, the daily newspaper out in Niagara Falls, New York.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I just have a companion video piece that I do as
well.
well.
It's July 21st. We're playing in Niagara Falls.
That's my birthday. So maybe we'll make it a birthday party for me. I definitely should. I've met your brother too. In fact, I met him when he was playing with, you mentioned Carlos Cavazo, because he was with Joe Lynn Turner, Carlos Cavazo, and I can't remember I think Rudy Sarzo was the other guy too. It was some short-lived project that they were doing live, but Big Noise was the name of it.
Oh yeah, Big Noise. I remember Big Noise. We have a thing called Mother's Army with Joe Lynn Turner, Jeff Watson, and Bob Daisley, and that's where the Guitar Zeus thing started. Because I had one quick thing. I had an album out in '82. This was '92. I was trying to get another solo album out. Jeff Watson comes out of Night Ranger, gets a record deal like that for a solo album. I said, what do I got to be, a guitar player to get a damn record deal? I said, I know, I'll do a guitar album. Me, a drummer, do a guitar album. I'll call it Guitar Gods. And then we were screwing around with the name Zeus, and I said, no, I'll call it Guitar Zeus. That's what I'll do. I was laughing. We all laughed. I went to bed that night, and I said, that's a freaking good idea.
That is a great idea.
And it was a reality.
Yeah.
That's my Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's Brooklyn.
That's Brooklyn. You think of something, say, how can I make this happen? And you make it happen. I did that so many times, in my life, in my career.
Yeah.
So
no, it's very cool.
Okay, brother.